Good morning and welcome to Garden with Pegi. Well, are we on? Okay. Welcome to Garden with Pegi. I'm very spacey today. Yesterday was the plant exchange. We're ballparking. We had 100 people. That's what I always say. People come and go throughout the day. At one point, there was a lot of people. Some people stayed a long time. One person took her shoes off, and my battery is running low. You might want to plug in your PC. So one person took off her shoes, used her purse as a pillow, fell asleep on the grass, listening to the very outrageous music. So that was pretty delightful just to see that. And there was just a lot going on, and lots of plants, and the critters were running around, and the definite star of the day was Alfie. Everybody wanted to take Alfie home. So, but he's not going anywhere. He's staying right here at Tiny Farm. But he was a big hit. So that was good. Can we go? Oh, I guess I should give the phone number. It's 888-399-7344. And remember to like and subscribe, especially on YouTube, but you can also watch on Facebook. And we are on Instagram and TikTok. And you can reach me at gardenwithpegi.com. And the website is gardenwithpegi@gmail.com. And we realized there were some difficulties with that. That's now all been fixed, and it comes right to my phone. And just I have to do this little slidey thing to go from my personal email to my website email. It's really easy, which these things are not always really easy, but now it's really easy. So I was unaware that we were having problems with the email, but now we know, and everything is much better. So again, the phone number, 888-399-7344. And we worked so hard this week to try to get everything ready. And I didn't get everything done I would have liked to have gotten done, but I think the place looked pretty good. This picture, the new background picture, which you'll see again in one of the slideshows, but this was taken yesterday. This was, going into the woods. And Chris from Scotch Plains actually commented that he went in the woods. And I am accomplishing the goal that I have set for myself, which is keeping it woods, but making it more interesting. And he said, because he comes and checks it out every year, and he says, yes, he can see that it's still lovely and natural and wild, but so that made me feel so good, when you get it right. Well, there's plenty more to do, but it was nice that people appreciated it. So, all right. So let's go to this week at Tiny Farm. Can we do that? Okay. All right. Well, our opening slide here is that little goofy Alfie dog who decided that, he wanted to go to the pet store. So he was going to drive. He's such a goof. And we did get his DNA testing back. And I have no idea of all the different dogs. And he's like 8 different kinds of dog, 7 or 8 different kinds of dog. I can't figure out why one ear is up and one ear is down, but it suits his personality to a T. All right, this is in the greenhouse. This is a little Senecio, and I've shown you different versions of this, but I just thought this was so cool. It had some very long branches, I guess would be a good word for any, that snapped off. And my dear friend Mel from Madden's Farm Market and Farm Country Farm Nursery, Madden's Family Farm, that's it, said that you could cut the stem up in pieces and lay it on the surface and that it would eventually root. Well, there were 2 branches, and I took the tips of both and stuck them in the ground, and they rooted very quickly. But these stem pieces weren't doing much of anything until they were. And there you can see the stem pieces are sending up shoots from the little leaf nodes and are rooted. And so as they get roots, I've been pulling them out and potting them up. But I thought that was pretty cool. So, and look at this. This is a pea flower. This is from that weird purple pea variety of snap pea that I thought was worth a try, to have purple peas. Interesting. They are much taller. It appears that they're growing at the same rate, at the same height as the sugar snaps would grow, because the sugar daddies, which I planted in lieu of the sugar snaps this year, are only about half the size. When I took this picture, there's only 1 or 2 flowers. Now the white flowers on the sugar daddies are blooming, as well as the purple ones. I haven't seen any developing pea pods yet, but you know, it's just beautiful flowering. I mean, I want the peas. I want peas and cheese sandwiches, but I thought it was just absolutely lovely. So this is fun. This is a scarlet fire, Kusa dogwood. Kusa really likes this. It's his favorite tree. And it's a few years old, and this is the first time it has had significant blooms. It did have 1 or 2 blooms last year, but it's got about 3 times as many as are in this picture. So it's doing really well. And I thought that the flowers were really interesting because, you know, ordinarily dogwoods are much rounder bract. I guess I have to explain that the pretty pink things or white things that you look at are really bracts, sort of like poinsettias, and the flowers are in the center. But ordinarily the bracts are much wider. This is very pointy and star-like, and I think it's lovely, and it's a little different, but it is blooming now in the Garden of Ancient Ruins. All right, slime mold alert. It's on the pile of wood chips. So gross, so weird, so cool, so interesting. One day it just appeared, and I tried touching it. If you look at like 12:30 on the clock, on that, you can see an indentation that I made with my finger to see how, and it was spongy, and it left that mark. Very, very weird stuff for sure, but one of nature's more fascinating things. And there's so many different kinds of slime molds. And those of you who don't know what a slime mold is, it is generally slimy, and it's not really a mold. It's in a classification entirely on its own. It's not a fungus or a mushroom. It's not a plant. It's its own category, and sometimes they can move, which is really creepy. Oh, this is Henry, officially Henryi. This is a clematis that's growing on the fence between our house and the bus company. People don't think that the bus company would make a very good neighbor, and they're actually spectacular neighbors. And Henryi is one of my favorite clematises just because it's so dramatic and elegant and prolific. And here is a close-up of the flowers, which I think is really quite magnificent. And I had a beautiful Henryi at Blooming Acres, and he grew all around this pelican statue. And it was always one of my favorite things in the spring because it looked so beautiful. So something you'd see at Longwood Gardens kind of thing. The way the flowers bloomed and wrapped around, it was just, of course, that burned. And I had to find a new Henryi, which I was able to find. And it's it certainly does a lot to take away the ugliness of the big chain link fence. So there you have it. All right, this is like an orange tree, and it has these beautiful flowers. It just appeared. This is one of those things that just appeared, and it's just lovely. And it also grows along the fence. This is my son gave me this concrete basket, and I tried to put scabbiola in it. For those of you who don't know what that is, it comes in white and pink and purple, and it's also called Japanese fan flower, little tiny fan-like flowers. And when I planted all 3 colors in there, the shape and the growth habit was perfect. It looked, but it dried up. If I didn't water it deeply every day, it died. And one year I replaced it 3 times and I said, forget it, I'm never doing that again. So last year I started putting succulents in there and I think that's pretty cool. So tried something different. They're a lot more tolerant of getting dry and they can handle the sun without any problems. So that's what we decided to do. And I think it looks pretty good. Keeper of the yard. There we have little Alfie dog. He surveys, he is king of all that he can see. Oh, in the woods. This is, they're just the foxgloves. They came back. They're doing well. Behind the foxgloves is the dogwood tree that I showed you earlier that was blooming, and that came from a volunteer that popped up, and we moved it there, and it's doing really well. And in front, as many of you know, I'm really not a big hosta fan, but since I'm trying to do low maintenance things in the woods, seems like, and that is a Empress Wu, which is one of the biggest leafed hostas. So if you're going to go hosta, go big. Oh, this is a little orchid that I got from Mike. Mike's Country Market over on Riva Avenue. I got this last year, survived, and it's doing so well. Very shade tolerant, beautiful color. Just love it. Oh, okay. So this is my weeping Siberian pea shrub. And I had shown you that it was blooming in the past. I was very excited. I didn't know if it was going to bloom this year because, it was rather traumatized. It lost a lot of branches. A lot of branches got broken in transit, even though we wrapped it. It was just the wood is brittle and the way the branches arched over, and we tried to tie it. And it was just, so we did lose a lot of branches in getting it here. And they planted it, and then July was so dry and we were watering it all the time, and it lost some leaves and it lost some more branches. And I don't know if this is going to bloom this year. I mean, I knew it was still alive. It was still pretty. And you can see the developing seed pods on the right. And it is truly in the pea family. So it makes these little peas, and in a pinch, they're edible, but they are commonly used. They can be grown not on the weeping varieties, on the upright varieties, but they are commonly grown as chicken feed. And there's a better picture of the developing pods. So that makes me happy. So if it's strong enough to make flowers and then make little seed pods, I think it's going to be just fine. And that's Anne Marie's grandmother's peony, which she gave me and is planted out front. I think it would be considered a bomb type, which the short, fluffy petals in the center and the big flat ones in the back, I think it would be considered a bomb type. Unfortunately, when all the flowers opened, it decided to lay down, which is not ideal in a driveway. Somebody's going to run it over. So yesterday morning, before people started arriving, I came up with a makeshift way of tying it up so it wouldn't get stepped on. And that looks better. But I think now that I know, because this is the first year it's made this many flowers, I think I'm going to try caging it some way next year from the beginning of the season, so that we can capture all the branches without breaking any as they grow, keep them tucked in, either use a really big tomato cage or come up with some other way of holding them up. But it's really varietal. Some varieties will stay upright, some won't. Looks like it's one that is a won't. This is my Mother's Day present from my husband and the kids. And it's something that I searched for and really wanted 2 of them to go on either side of the garage in the back to soften the kind of rigid cement block corners of the garage building. And there's a window between the 2, and it just needed something. The building's ugly. I haven't decided if at some point I'm going to paint a mural on it or something to soften it up a little bit. I can't really attach anything to it. I don't think doing a mosaic is a good idea because it's right by where the truck comes in and out if we need to get in the back into the backyard with the truck. So I think a mural might be the best thing. But in the meantime, I planted 2 weeping blue spruces which are more sculptural, but not doing the job exactly the way I had envisioned. They're fine. They're lovely. This is a weeping white spruce, and it just grows straight up. Just my daughter, when she saw it, said, "Mom, it looks upside down." I can see that, but I love it. I'm thrilled with it. It seems to be doing well. Tommy planted it. We mulched it and watered it in thoroughly. And that is a weeping white spruce. It's the big addition for 2024. And the chess set is up. We wanted to make sure that was out, and nobody played chess, but people took a lot of pictures. So this is the first year that it was done in time for the plant exchange, because I finished it last summer. The board was there, but not the pieces. But now they are all done, stained. The edges of the board are stained and varathaned and protected. So everything is ready for battle here. Wasn't 100% sure exactly how to lay out the chessboard, but apparently the queens face each other. We looked it up. And the meditation garden, which we have to move that shrub. That is the orange tree shrub, and that needs to go in the other corner. But Tommy moved it so that wouldn't block the band for yesterday. But so it's supposed to go in the other corner. But it looks good. Mary and Eileen, Mary from Warren and Eileen from Milltown, came on Wednesday, and they helped me get this all set up. Like the pieces were there, but the dogs had been running through it, and the sand was in the river rock there, and there were some weeds growing. And now you can go and sit and meditate. And there we have the tools to do the raking. We have raking tools if you feel like being creative. And yesterday somebody made a heart and put my name in it. I don't know, was that you? No, it wasn't my husband. Somebody else. I don't know, but that was sweet. All right, this is kind of fun. I decided to put some moonflower vines growing up the trellis that's the entrance to the veggie garden. But there's wood all around there, so there's no soil, so I have to do it in the containers, and those concrete containers were there, and I really didn't want to have to move them. So but I was afraid that if I put the moonflower vines in the containers, they would be too far away to actually catch on the trellis directly. So I decided to use some branches from the Harry Lauder's walking stick that I had saved and stuck them in, and just something to form a little bit of support and draw the vines over to the trellis. Hoping this works. I think it looks pretty cool. And there's one on the other side as well. So, and that we grew the plants from seed. So we, potted them up in there and wrapped them around a little bit. So I'm very optimistic. I think it's going to look cool. And I was trying to come up with something for them to climb on as an intermediate before they got, and I was like, we're going to have to go buy something, a little trellis of some kind, something. And then a light bulb went off in my brain, and I was like, I could use the Harry Lauder walking stick branches. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm looking forward to it. All right, this is the Tibocina, and I showed you this when I had cut it back to nothing, and you can see it's got tons of little tiny baby leaves. It's probably not going to bloom again till the middle of the summer, but it is coming back robustly. And you can see all the pine cones in the pots, and that has been very effective in keeping Mr. Wolfbane the cat out of the pots. He does not like walking on the pine cones, and he stays out of the pot. So that was another little bit of a success story that works pretty well. But the Tibocina will return once again. Oh, this was a picture that someone sent me of poppies and the alliums. And, these are both plants that I consider tweeners in between your classic spring flowering bulbs, your daffodils and tulips and hyacinths, and your summer annuals before they really kick in. And there's and poppies, but I love the purple and white. I thought that was just really stunning. So I thought I would share that with you. And, oh, how weird is this? Tommy, do you have any idea what this is? He's looking. Looks like a petunia, right?
Some kind of flowering bush.
This is my husband, almost 35 years, and that's the answer he gives me, a flowering bush. It is a kind of petunia, and this was also sent to me from Dorothy of Milltown. And it's a petunia, and it looks like a petunia, and it looks like a nice petunia. It's not a spectacular petunia until the lights go out, and this is what it does at night. How totally bizarre. Bioluminescence. And I found them online. She bought it online, and it arrived, and it was a little scraggly, but she potted it up, and it recovered, and it started making flowers. And it's like you can buy a plant online for $30 if they still have any more, for just a little tiny plant. But I looked into it, and it's some kind of genetic manipulation, and they used bioluminescent mushrooms to get the gene strands that they needed to incorporate it into these petunias. They're called firefly petunias now, and they actually glow in the dark. Is that the end? Is that my last picture? Okay, well, that works out perfect because we have a caller. So if we can go back to me, and then we can go, do we have the name of yesterday? We don't have the name, but there's somebody there. So we'll just hope that, and they're calling about yesterday's plant exchange. So good morning, caller. Who am I speaking to?
Hi, Peggy. It's Bob from Piscataway.
Bob from Piscataway. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Tommy, could you make him a little louder, please? We're making you louder.
Okay.
Okay.
That's something my voice never says, but okay.
I can understand that. But thank you for all your help yesterday.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for holding such a great event. I look forward to it every year. It was a beautiful day, and we had a wonderful time. You know, a lot of nice people there, met some new people, got some great plants. And I think I may have an idea who drew your name in the sand.
You do.
My wife likes to. Anytime my wife walks on sand, she has to draw a heart in it. I don't know what this is, but it's just a thing she does. So it may have been her.
Okay, well, that was very sweet. It put a smile on my face when I saw it. So, and she was running around barefoot. So, and
yes, she was.
The sand is very tempting.
Yes.
So
yes, yeah, boy, your chess set is amazing. The attention to detail on the pieces is very, very cool.
Oh, thank you.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. I have this whole creative part of my psyche that has to be satisfied, and of course, then I'm a little, obsessive compulsive about it. So, and I have to give credit. Tommy did some of the cutting for me because I'm not a big fan of woodworking power tools. I'll use a few small things, but cutting the 6x6s at angles was beyond my ability. So, and we had to go through several pieces of 6x6 to get it right for the horse's head. So I have to give him credit because I don't know that I could have pulled that off entirely on my own. And he built the chessboard itself, the frames. I did the tiles in the center, but he built the frames for me. So we make a good team. He does the structural manly parts, and then I do the creative part, and he gives me free rein, which is also helpful.
Well, props to Tommy. He did a great job. Both of you did. It's very, very, very neat. Very cool.
And his music yesterday.
The band was great. That adds such a nice element to the whole thing. They're just, they're very talented. Tommy is a very good guitarist. I forget the singer's name, but she had a fantastic voice.
Rose.
Both singers did.
And the partner is Doug. All right. I don't know what we're going to do. Yeah. I mean, ordinarily, for the first 2 years, Jimmy did it. And Tommy actually plays out with Jimmy in clubs and things, in restaurants. And they play out. together about once a month. It's not, it's something he's developing so that when he retires, he has something that he loves to do. So this is good. But last year, Jimmy couldn't make it, and our dear friend Mike stepped in, and that was good. But Mike was returning from France yesterday as a special anniversary trip for his wife, so he was unavailable. Now Tommy knew Rose and Doug from another band he played in a few years ago, and they just agreed to step in, and I'm so grateful. And Tommy and I were thinking this morning, we have to do something wonderful for them, but we haven't come up with anything yet. We're still kind of in recovery mode from yesterday, so we'll give it a noodle today and see if we can't come up with something special, because they really stepped in, and her voice is just lovely. So it was all fun. It was all good.
Yeah, absolutely. One quick question before I hand the phone over to my better half. For potatoes, my potatoes are growing really good. What could I feed them with, just compost?
You could. I mean, as a general rule of thumb, if for fertilizing vegetables, if you use like a little 10-6-4 or a little 10-10-10 or 5-10-10, the rule is you fertilize at planting, and then halfway through their growing season, you do a side dressing. If you have really fertile soil and everything's going well and you don't want to push them too hard, a little side dressing of compost certainly would be helpful, but there's not a lot of nutrients in it. It's good for soil moisture retention, and so that's good. But I don't intend to fertilize mine, because I did mix a ton of compost in at the beginning of the season before I planted my potatoes. And I did fertilize before I planted my potatoes. And as you saw, they were looking pretty robust.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily
feel... Yeah, I mean, I'll just take it as it goes. Mine are looking really good too. It's growing really nice. I'll see, how the season progresses, and, address it when the time comes if I need to.
And I know that it's probably second nature, but potatoes are mostly water. There's a very high percentage of water in potatoes. So one of the more important things to do with potatoes is to water them deeply when you water them. That's probably more important than a side dressing of fertilizer in the middle of the season.
Okay.
Because the roots are down there. I mean, when you dug your potatoes out, they're not, right below the surface. Some are, but some are much deeper.
Right.
So when you water, you really want to make sure that you water deeply and thoroughly, because water is such an important part of potatoes. I mean, it's an important part of everything, but it's really important for potatoes. So I would say staying tuned into that is probably better priority than worrying about adding compost at this point. You want to add compost in the beginning, because where you have pretty heavy soil, and root crops need looser soil in order to grow, because they have to grow in the soil itself. So in the spring, add as much compost as you can, but now deep water.
Yeah, I did just that. I added a lot of compost. So I'll just keep I'll focus on the watering more so than anything else.
I think you'll be in good shape.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to hand the phone over quickly to Nancy.
Okay, great.
Have a good day.
You too. Thanks for calling. Thanks for coming. Thanks for your help.
Right,
bye. Bye.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having it.
It really was my pleasure. That was fun.
Hi, Peggy.
Hi, Nance. How you doing?
I'm well. So thank you so much for yesterday. You guys, you're so gracious, so generous and open, and that's really nice of you to do that. So thank you for
you're
sharing
very
your
welcome.
garden.
It's a really fun day. And, I've said so many times that one of the reasons that I've been doing this as long as I've been doing it, and, we lost the radio show and we tried a different station, and we kept pursuing it because of the gardening community. The people, even the ones I've only met on the air or on the phone, they just bring such joy. It's the people that form the gardening community are all good people, and they're all generous, and they're all share, and they share their knowledge, and they share their plants, and they share their harvest, and they share their ups, and they share their downs, and it becomes really extended family. And so it's a joy to be able to do this, and we're so fortunate that we found a place 4 miles from the ocean that we could do this.
Wow.
It's such a unique property in this area, that and the house was, the back of the house faces south, is conducive to the greenhouse. We've got the woods area. We had a barn for the chickens. We were so fortunate to be able to find this property that would allow us to continue that lifestyle and that sense of community on a teeny tiny scale, so.
Yeah, wow. And right near the ocean, Mother Earth, like in every direction, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. So I'm so glad you were able to
I
share
have a
with us.
question too.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So last year, if you remember, you told us about the green giant arborvitae
Yes.
plant in the back,
Yes.
which we did. We did that in September, and you said, support them because of the wind. So which we did. We have 3 like poles for each one. We have 3 of them, and then with a really thick covered cord, I loosely supported them all winter, and they've been growing really great. So that's since September they've been supported. Should I take that off now? The supports, and just let them be? Or keep them tied with the supports?
How exposed are they, Nance? Because mine are up against a fence, so they are protected from the west winds, which can be pretty powerful in the winter. So they're protected from that. And I planted mine in the spring, so they didn't have to. So they already had a whole growing season in the ground before winter came. So anything that I planted away from the fence, I left the supports on for one whole growing season. But up against the fence, because I planted in the spring, I didn't put any supports on. So if yours are out in the open and are catching the wind from all directions, I would leave them on maybe till next spring. Get them through one more winter if they're in a really vulnerable spot, where they're going to catch a lot of wind or could catch a lot of wind, because you don't want them. And also, it depends on how big they are. If they're little short guys, if they're only like 3-footers, then you probably don't need to support them anymore. If they're 6-footers or 8-footers, I would leave them supported. That would make a big difference.
Okay, they're not 6 foot. They're about right now 4 foot, but they are exposed. And I just as you were talking, I just thought of something. It's supposed to be a really heavy hurricane season. I don't know about here, but just all around in general, it's supposed to be. They're predicting like more hurricanes than normal and very strong ones.
Then in that case, if you can leave it on till next spring, and you have a whole year of root establishment, and then protect them from winter storms and hurricane season, I think that would be, a margin of safety. Maybe not necessary, but if you don't do it and the storm blows one over, you'll wish you had.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's it. They look fine. They are really healthy and they look fine. It's just like, I don't want to jump the gun, and I'm not going to. So
okay. There you go. Good. Now you have a plan.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Well, I really appreciate your help cleaning up. By the time we're ready to clean up, I'm usually pretty wiped out. So having help cleaning up is so appreciated.
I bet.
Yeah. But
well, thank you. That was nothing compared to all that. So thank you.
All right. Well, it was my pleasure, and I hope that we'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
All right. I should give the phone number. It's 888-399-7344. That's Peggy, Pegi. And can we show the wavy guy? Let's show the wavy guy video, because wavy guy is, I'm sure you'll figure out as soon as you see him, he is waving. And he was my Christmas present a couple years ago. I asked for a wavy guy, a purple wavy guy, and he was out front to let people know, that this was the place to go. So can we show Wavy Guy? All right. Pulled in. So can we go now to the slides for the day? Okay, so this is the front of the house and Wavy Guy, and some people, I don't know, where was your truck? Because it's not in that spot. Where did you put your truck? Over to the side somewhere? Okay. So Tommy usually parks right in front of the house, and I park in the driveway in the back. So that way we can both get in and out without blocking each other. But this is what people saw when they first pulled in. And of course, they were greeted by this character, who I think he looks more like Gandalf than he does Dumbledore. But and he's surrounded by blueberry bushes. There are thousands, no exaggeration, there are thousands of blueberries out there. And one of the first flowers that you came across was the Siberian irises, which were blooming and lovely. And these are people that arrived early, a little bit early to help. This is Chris and his lovely wife, Joyce. We did a smart thing. Nancy was here helping. Nancy from Somerset was here. She had stayed over to help. And we opened up all the tables in one spot. And that way, two people could carry them instead of one person lugging the whole thing. And Joyce and Chris just gave themselves the job of picking them up. They'd been here before, so they had a pretty good idea of how it was set up in the past. And they just picked those tables up and moved them all around. And that was fun. And they put all the signs up, which was also fun. And then this is Mary from East Brunswick, who did not stay for the event. She just brought tons and tons of plants to give away, lots of them. So she stayed for a little while, really before things got going. Oh, and one of the supervisors, he was a big hit, little Kusa Dogwood. He stayed out and said hi to everybody, jumped in a few people's laps. Oh, these peonies, these are not my peonies. These were Nancy from Somerset's peonies, and she cut me a bouquet. She has lots of peony bushes, and she was anticipating a big storm. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with big storms of peonies, but they do not go well together. You have a big storm and all the petals come off. So she went out and she cut like 4 gigantic bouquets like this to give away before the storm came, and she saved one for us. So this went on the table, on the porch, on the barn, and it was just stunning. All right, so this is the woods, and as I said, I've been adding, a little bit to the woods every year, and trying to keep the path clear, try to keep the poison ivy out of wherever the path goes. If I see it, I grab it, I pull it out, but poison ivy is going to be in the woods because the birds eat the berries and poop the seeds. But I try to make sure so that it's safe for people to, wander through to the back. And here is a little deeper in the woods. You can see we have a couple of chairs way back there that you can sit in, but the woods are lovely. What we're looking at for the white flowers there, those are wild blackberries, and there's some raspberries, but they're mostly blackberries, and they are really quite delicious to pick and eat. Oh, this is Ben. This is Big Ben. He's a mean rooster, but he's kind of cute. He's okay. He's not too mean to his hens, which is good. But he can't be with another rooster, and you don't want him chasing you. So we have to be very careful when we let him out, because we do let them out sometimes. This is one of his wives. This is Blondie. He has a harem for sure. So who's on the phone?
2.
Oh, we have 2 callers. Okay.
Chris is first, and then Sharon.
Okay, great. Well, let's go. We can get back to the pictures from yesterday after we have a little chat with Chris. So, Chris, are you with us? Nope, he's coming. There you go. Good morning, Chris.
Peggy, I enjoyed your get-together a great deal yesterday. Joyce and I had a wonderful time. People were wonderful. The food was good. The music was good. It's just so much fun to come back year after year and see how your garden is progressing. Wood looks good. The trees that you planted are taking off. It was just a wonderful day. Thank you.
Well, I'm so glad that you enjoyed yourself, and I so appreciate you really did take over the whole table thing, which was pretty awesome, and set everything up because you are familiar. You have been coming every year, and so you knew where to put stuff, which was great because we do as much prep as we can, but some stuff just has to be done last minute. You can't get around that. You don't want to be setting up the tables the night before and have them blown all over the property and knocking trees over and stuff and bushes and flowers. And you were awesome. So you came, you took over, you conquered. It was great. So thank you.
Happy to help. It was a big job, but having been there in the past, we had some idea of where to put things. No, very happy to help. Peggy, could I ask you two quick questions?
Sure.
One is I was looking in my basement and I discovered that I have some Kennebec potatoes that I neglected to plant. Is it too late to get them outside in the ground now?
It's a little late, but I think you're better off, trying to get them in the ground. If they're still viable, get them in the ground and see what happens. I mean, I find that most of my potatoes begin to die back in the middle of the summer, and I don't dig them out till the fall. So maybe these will just be a later crop. And I think, I think it's worth the experiment to try it just to see what happens. I think you've got better than a 50-50 chance that they'll produce something. It's still only the middle and late May. It's not June. So I think, and I think that some farmers actually stagger their plantings. So I think, it's worth a try. I would say go for it. If it were me, I would go for it.
I'll give it a try. And then, Peggy, the other question. Recently, I became involved in a startup community garden. There's already an existing greenhouse on the site. We need to do a lot of work with replacing beds. But my question is, what can you do with a greenhouse in the summertime? It doesn't have any electricity for fans or ventilation. You can open the door and the window. It's in Elizabeth, New Jersey, which tends to get kind of hot. Can you plant anything inside of a greenhouse like for July and August? The intent is a community garden growing vegetable and herbs to give to a food bank.
It's going to get really hot in there, Chris.
Yeah.
It's going to get really, really hot. And if you have no significant ventilation, you might be able to start some seedlings because seeds like it warm, really warm, like around 80 degrees. They like it 80 degrees. So in order to get optimum germination. So if you wanted to start possibly some, broccoli, cauliflower, your cole crops for fall planting, you could probably do that. But you'd have to stay really on top of making sure that they don't dry out because they will dry out very quickly. But other than that, I can't really think of too much that you would want to grow in that kind of weather. Tommy, can you make him louder? So
when I think of greenhouses, normally I would think of putting like a shade cloth over it for the summer. So unfortunately, the greenhouse is nice, but it takes up a big chunk of the space. It's like maybe 10 by 12 in the whole garden area. The rest of it is about that size as well. So it's just trying to think of anything. If I put like peppers in containers, do they like the heat? Is that something that they might be able to benefit from?
Not that much heat. I would be concerned. I would, you know what? I'm going to make two suggestions. Eggplants really like heat, and okra really likes heat.
Okay.
Because that's basically a southern crop. I mean, you can grow okra here for sure. I do it every year, but it doesn't get going with any enthusiasm until it's hot. And in fact, I did research on okra when I was a county agent. And the difference in production using black plastic compared to not using black plastic, because the black absorbed the heat, was significant, about 20% difference in production. So you might want to try
would it be-
okra.
Would it be possible to grow okra in containers? At this point, the floor, I think, is either covered with crushed stone or some sort of mulch, so we couldn't plant it directly in the ground. If you had larger containers and put them in the greenhouse, would okra grow in that?
I would just buy bags of potting soil, grow it in that.
Okay. Oh, I did in that.
I think that might work. I mean, I've grown
Okay.
tomatoes. I've grown tomatoes in bags many times, and it works pretty well. So I think okra is worth a try to grow it just in bags. Then you don't have to do all that, transplanting and lugging of soil and filling containers and all that. Just lay the bags out where you want them and cut little X's in where you want to put the seed and try that and take pictures because I want to see how this works. But that's something I would try because okra is definitely, you could try cotton. I know people don't eat it, but it might be fun to try to grow a little bit of cotton. That's a southern crop and that likes the heat. It's actually related to okra. Okra and cotton are both hibiscus. So you could try that.
Okay, I'll let you know how it turns out, Peggy.
I'm excited.
But once again, but your activity yesterday, we really enjoyed it. Thank you. It was enjoyed by so many people. Thanks so much.
And thank your wife for helping. Give her a hug from me. It was we had fun, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next year. I hope.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Have a great day. All right,
okay.
we have more callers. So bye, Chris. Who's next? Sharon from Winfield. Hey, Sharon, welcome to Garden with Peggy. What can I do for you today?
Hello, Peggy. I just wanted to ask about propagating snake plant cuttings, but just if I can give a little history. When my parents bought our home in Union in 1961, which was the year that I was born, my mother had some plants that her grandmother had given her, and they were from like 1920. My mother kept them all the years that she had the home until 2000 when she passed away. My older sister took the plants and they traveled with her to Florida, to Georgia, and to Austin. And along the way, she lost the snake plants. So recently in my office, we have some snake plants growing. We have a company that comes in and takes care of the plants. And I asked the young man, I'm like, I'd really like to grow, snake plants. How do I do it? So he gave me some cuttings. So that's where I'm at right now. I have the cuttings for about a week now. I have them in a glass of water. I did a V-cut on them just by looking on YouTube to help, it said it would help propagate roots. Can you give me any other information?
Well, I wouldn't have done it that way. But not to say that my way is the only way, but I would not have done it that way. I would have I would have let them harden off, meaning dry up a little bit along the cut edge, and then I would have dabbed, and I do mean dab, a little bit of rooting hormone along that cut edge, and then I would have stuck them upright in a loose potting soil. And kept them out of the sun.
Is it too late?
Well, you've had them in water. That would immediately concern me that they're going to rot. Because the only way to kill a snake plant really is to overwater it. So I don't know that I would try to root them in water, especially just a little cutting.
Okay.
So that's what I would do. I would take the cuttings, make sure that they're dry, and use a little rooting hormone, and you can stick a whole bunch of pieces. You can use a tray, and stick a whole bunch of pieces in a tray and hope that some of them will root. And you want to keep them, if you can supply bottom heat, get that you can buy these little rubber mats that you plug in. I use them to start seeds, but something like that contributes to root generation. So a little rooting hormone, keep them dry. You don't want them to rot. A little heat, a loose soil, keep them moist but not soggy. And that's the approach I would take. I've never heard of cutting a V in them to give you more surface area to get roots generated from. I suppose there's some logic in that. Never heard of it, so I can't say that it's a good idea or a bad idea. I have had success rooting snake plants. I never argue with success. So I would do it the way I would continue to do it the way I have done it, because I know that that way works for me. So that's what I would do. But I'm a little concerned about them being in water, because that sounds not good.
Okay. Well, quick question though. I mean, the pieces that this young man cut for me, I mean, they're like 1.5 feet. I mean, can I cut the bottoms and try again, you think?
Yeah. If they're rotten, if they're mushy or soft in any way, yes, you can.
Okay.
But that's the way I would do it.
Well, that's...
How many pieces did he give you?
He gave me 3 pieces. And again, I mean, one of them was almost 3 foot. He did cut it from the bottom.
All right. I would also consider, okay, now you're really going to think I'm nuts. I would consider cutting them in, one of them in 4 foot, like 4 to 5 inch sections. And you can root each section. So leave 2 tall, keep your fingers crossed. But the reason that the sections have advantages is they don't need as much water to sustain themselves before they get roots. Because that whole tall 3 foot leaf is basically, it's a leaf. It looks like a spear, but it's a leaf. It needs water. The whole thing needs water. And if it has no roots at all, to get water all the way up here, is going to be tricky. So I would consider cutting it, one of them, in sections, and then doing what I just said to each section, and then it'll develop roots and send out a new shoot. If the plants are really robust, there's no reason why you couldn't have, divided a piece off with a little bit of root. That's more of a guarantee. I do that all the time. I propagate snake plants all the time because I have a collection of snake plants. Some are quite weird. And so you can, when they get crowded in the pot, you can divide them easily, and then you still have, it gives them more room to grow. You want to keep them pot bound because that's the way they bloom. So keeping them pot bound is good. But I've had them where they actually split the pot, a plastic pot, or cracked a clay pot. So when they start misbehaving like that, then I divide them. And I have a couple I need to divide right now, as a matter of fact. So it would not be difficult to remove a piece and with roots on it. Did you come? Were you here yesterday? Were you here yesterday?
No, I was not. And oh my goodness, it sounds like it was a wonderful day, and congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I have a gigantic snake plant I could easily give you a piece of. So keep that in mind. If you want to take a ride down, I can easily, that big one, it's huge. It's literally huge. It's in a window box on a shelf in the greenhouse, as far away from the sun as you can get. It's one of the few plants that would survive there. But the thing is enormous, and I'd have to get my husband to take it down, which is not a big deal. He can do that. And to take off a section is like nothing. So that's why I'm so surprised if the plants were so robust that he didn't just give you a piece with a little bit of root, because that would have made your life much easier. But try to root the ones you've got. And if you want a hunk, just, let me know when you want to come down. I'll give you a piece. It's really not a big deal. It's a bigger deal for you to get in the car wherever you are and drive all the way down here, but I could easily give you a piece, and we could help you get it started. We could get it potted up here, and then you be on your way. So not a problem.
Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for that offer, Peggy. But just real quick, like I said, it was like the plant guy who takes care of the plants in my office. And he was like, when I asked him about it, he was like, so he just gave me a couple of clippings. I'm like, oh, what the heck?
Well, give it a try. And if it doesn't work, I'll give you a hunk. It's really not, it's absolutely not a big deal because the thing is ginormous. And I've had it, I don't know, I've probably had it for 40 years. So yeah, it's ginormous.
Yes.
Okay. So that,
Oh my goodness.
we'll solve your problem one way or another.
Oh, all right, Peggy. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Okay. You have a great day.
Thank you too. Be well.
All right.
Take
Bye-bye
care.
now. All right.
Bye.
Who's next?
So we only have 5 minutes, but tell people we'll just.
Okay, anybody that is holding now, we have a bunch of callers. Anyone that's holding, we will answer all of your questions before we answer. So you don't have to hang up. You can just be patient, get yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or something, and we will answer all of your questions. It's a nice thing about doing it, upstairs in my own personal studio because there's no commercials coming on or no other show following. So just hang in there. Who's next? Gary. Hey, Gary. Welcome to Garden with
Hello,
Peggy.
Hello, Peggy. This is Gary from North Florida. I'm a longtime New Jersey resident, but now I'm down here about 5 years. So what I have is this February or last February, I bought a Rainier cherry tree mail order, and it had one stem and a Y on top. And the Y branches grew about 4 foot tall and did not get any other branches on it. So what I did this January was I cut them about a foot down, so they're only a foot long, and now I have 8 beautiful branches coming off.
Sounds
But I'd
good.
like to know, can I trim them so that they get more branches, or do I have to wait till January when it's cold down here again?
Well, no, you can do a little bit of a light pruning if you want. You have to be careful about the flowers, because did it make any flowers for you at all yet?
No, it did not make any flowers. It's a brand new tree. It's only a year old. This is the first time that I cut it in the fall, and it's got beautiful shoots. It looks beautiful right now. But if I let them grow, they'll grow 3 foot tall, and then I'll have to cut them in the fall all the way back. I like to cut them now and get more branches.
Well, okay. So what you want to do is you want to just nip them back to another bud. You don't want to necessarily cut them way back. You don't want to cut off all.
No, maybe 2 inches.
Yeah, something like that, and just force them into the side shoots coming out. Because the way plants grow is that the tips of the branches that produce a chemical that's actually a plant growth inhibitor. It's a totally natural thing. It's part of the plant, and the plant growth inhibitor prevents the side buds from growing. And when you remove this tips, then the side branches will grow until a new leader of that branch takes over, and then that will begin releasing the same chemical. That's why you pinch chrysanthemums. You pinch all the little tips of the chrysanthemums all the way around, and then it sends out all the side shoots, so you get more flowers in a shorter, more compact plant. It's the same thing with Brussels sprouts. You've seen Brussels sprouts grow when they're on the stick, and you see all these little, like ping pong ball size green things growing all the way up the stem. Well, that's because the plant has to get really tall, and so tall that the chemical that it produces way over here at the tippy top can no longer travel far enough. And that's when the side buds begin to develop, because now they're too far away to be chemically inhibited by the plant itself. And what farmers do in the fall, if they're not producing Brussels sprouts in time for market, is they go in and they cut off the tops, and then that will force the Brussels sprouts to sprout. So it's the same with all plants. If the growing tip produces these chemicals that prevent the side branches from growing. So if you remove these, then you'll get more side shoots. It's the same. It's the same principle, just it looks different on different plants, but it's still basically the same principle.
Okay. I have one other question about the Rainier cherry tree. I am right on the borderline that the Rainier cherry tree needs cold weather for 600 hours. What does cold weather for 600 hours mean? Does it mean frost and below, or just cool weather?
I would have to look that up. It's not a problem in New Jersey, but it definitely is. It's going to be so many hours below a certain temperature. Exactly what that temperature is, I'm not sure. I can look into it and get back to you on that for next week if you want, or you can email me and at the gardenwithpeggy@gmail.com, and I'll respond and give you the answer during the week if you want. But if it requires chilling, then you're not. This is a whole theory that I have that it wasn't an apple in the Garden of Eden, because apples require chilling. So you have to have the chilling in order to produce the fruit. But it may vary from species to species, and it may vary even to some degree from variety to variety, because there may be varieties that have been developed that don't require as much chilling as the ones that evolved more naturally in a certain area. So so exactly that variety, what did you call it? What was the variety?
It's a Rainier cherry tree.
Rainier cherry tree. So we would have to look up the specifics to that cherry tree as to what it would require. So I'm going to suggest that you send me an email, and I'll write back to you, and we can find it out. I can find it out easily, but not on the air.
Okay, Peggy.
All right.
Thank you very much. You answered all my questions. Have a great day.
All right.
Yes.
You get back. You send me that email, and I'll take care of it.
I will. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Have a great day too. All right. Who's next?
Anne Marie.
Hey, Anne Marie, welcome back.
Hey, long time no see. It's been several hours.
Yes, it has been. I pretty much collapsed after everybody left last night.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sorry. Art just flipped the computer back on. I was confused here. Are we still on the phone?
Yes, we're still on the phone.
Okay. We never really got home until about 10 o'clock last night.
Oh, wow.
And we unloaded all these myriad of plants and gave them a drink. And then we showered and went to bed, and then it rained. I said, oh, thank you. If I knew that, I wouldn't have wasted my time.
Oh, it didn't rain here.
Well, sadly, this morning I went out, and the deer found 8 off the tops of Bob's tomato plants and 2 of your bigger tomato plants.
Oh.
And the tops of perennial sunflowers, as well as finding mine, which they never found last year. They ate it the first year, and last year they didn't find it until it was big enough that they didn't care about it, I guess. Well, they cared about it last night. So then I go down to the backyard to put some compost in the composter, and they ate the new growth off the pussy willow trunk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had such a good time all day and then be sad this morning, really.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a bummer.
Okay. Tomato plants will regenerate. I know that. So will the others, but now I have to put, like some big, I'm going to get an electric fence. I don't even have a dog. So I don't know. It's like pretty crazy here. But anyway, we're good. We had a wonderful time yesterday, and everybody was so gracious, and everybody brought so many plants. But I want to say this to all those that visited. I think we need you to take at least half as many home as you brought. So if you bring us 27, you need to take at least 13 to go home.
Yeah,
so we didn't have so many orphans. We had a lot of orphans.
Well, at the end, a lot of people stepped up, because you left a little bit before the end, but at the end, as everyone was cleaning up, a lot of stuff got snagged. Oh, nobody's taking that. Good. I'll take that. Everybody said that. So, so there was some stuff, and the stuff that was really left at the end was kind of scraggly, and we dumped it all in the compost pile, and it's all gone. But I took a bunch of things at the end. I took a little holly tree that somebody brought, and I took a bunch.
I saw that.
A bunch of creeping jennies, because I like them to put them in containers to hang over the edge, and 1 or 2 other things that I took. Oh, I took all of the sensitive ferns that were under the table by the
yeah, what is that? I took one of them, but I didn't know where it needed to be.
It's a shade lover. It's deep shade, and I have a whole bunch of it in the Garden of Ancient Ruins. But it will do well in the woods. It's a good woods fern. And the thing that I like about it the most is it makes the coolest sporulating fronds. Okay. Now, a leaf on a fern is called a frond, and a sporulating frond is the one that usually, in most cases, is a leaf, a frond that gets all these little polka dots on the back. You know what I'm talking about? It gets all these little fuzzy polka dots. Looks like dotted Swiss fabric. It's, and those are the spores, and those are called sporulating fronds. But this particular plant gets super cool sporulating fronds where they get all twisted and curled up and they become woody, and the foliage dies over the winter, but the sporulating fronds provide winter interest. They're actually woody, and I have seen them taken and dipped in gold and turned into jewelry. That's how interesting they are. So they are very shade tolerant, and they provide winter interest, and they spread, not overly aggressive. There's nothing about them that you have to worry about. It's not like it's not like an ivy kind of thing or a viney kind of thing that gets all tangled up. It stays low to the ground. It's pretty. So I'm always looking for stuff to put in the woods. So I took all of those as well.
Well, good. Then maybe I will put that to the back of the section where the big tree destroyed that whole planting in there.
Yes.
Because that is as far back and nobody will disturb it, hopefully. And I'll see what I get.
All right. I think it'll work out for you.
I mean, that's what I said to her. I'm taking all these plants because there's nothing back there now. So I've got open space to plant. And if they come up and I like them, then they'll all be happy and I'll be happy. So, but we really came home with way more than I ever anticipated. But thank you. Thank you.
Anne-Marie, you say that every year, hon. You do.
Well, you're contagious.
Well, it is addicting for sure. There's no question. I bought Tommy this shirt for Christmas last year, and it said, what's it say exactly? It's not hoarding if it's guitars. I have seen them where it says it's not hoarding if it's plants. So I should probably get one of those.
There you go. There you go. So anyway, but everybody else, every other plant seemed to just survive, which was interesting because there were a lot of young plants and they didn't want to eat those. So I thought, oh, good, you don't really like these. And Taryn already tried to adopt the foxglove because it was purple. I said, no, sorry, it's mine. You can look at it in my yard.
All right, well,
but
thank you for your help. You came 2 days, and you came early yesterday, and you came the day before to help, and that help is so, so appreciated. I didn't even have Jordan this year. I did make my poor husband work a little bit more this year than he has in the past couple of years. But you know what? I really missed him. So that part was nice. I love working with him outside and us figuring things out together. But he did step up since I didn't have Jordan. But still, it's a lot. It's a lot for just us to do.
It's a lot. And you generated so much, out of your own greenhouse for us. But I did come home with no eggplant. So I was sad.
Oh, how did that happen?
I don't know, because I remember on Friday you said, oh, we have to get the eggplants and the peppers out. And I said, okay, but we never did it that minute. So I didn't really know what I was looking for. And I guess I didn't see them. Were they by the tomato plants? I don't know where they were.
No, actually, they never got out. I put them out later. So I don't know if I put them out after you left. I don't think so. But I do have one left in the greenhouse. So if you want it, you can have it.
Oh, well, thank you. I would love to have it. I'm not sure it might be a full-grown plant by the time I get to see you again, because our schedule is so insane. But hopefully not. Hopefully we'll see you long before that.
Okay. Well, that sounds. Do we have another call?
Pretty good. Or I said, look at her. She's not even looking all worn out. That was such a long, crazy day or weekend or week or month. I don't even know how far we need to date it back.
It was a long, crazy week for sure. But I'm going to make a promise just between you and me, Anne-Marie. When this show is over, I'm going to kick my shoes off. I'm going to curl up in bed and I'm going to do nothing for the next couple of hours. I'm just going to.
I would like Tommy to send Art a picture of that on a timer.
Because I need a little bit of downtime right now. So.
Yep, I need to be Sleeping Beauty for sure.
So, but thanks again for all your help. Give Uncle Art a hug for me. And it was his birthday, and so we want to wish Uncle Art a slightly belated happy birthday. He came to help on his birthday. How cool is that? So give him a hug, and we will see you guys soon, I hope.
Okay, take care. Have a good nap.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Is there another caller?
Nope.
That's it? That's all the callers?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good? Okay, so I guess, should I save all the rest of the pictures for, where are we? What time are we at?
10 after.
Yeah, so I guess I'll
Yeah,
show.
you don't want to rush. So.
Yeah, so there's so many pictures from yesterday. So we'll just I don't know if we'll start over next week or pick up from the Mrs. Chicken here, and we'll just cover it all next week. Is that good? All right, to everybody, to everybody who came, I hope you had a good time. I had a great time. I even danced a little. And to everybody who helped, enormous thanks. And because it's not a one-person job, but it's all about the gardening community, and everybody pulled together, and we had a great day. So that was pretty amazing. And I will be here next week, same time, same place. So until then, you have a good one. Bye-bye.